But Germany also, on top of that, wants to start rejecting migrants at the border, something that has tried to avoid for
Mm.
years under Angela Merkel, because it could lead to such a sort, as I said, a domino
Yeah,
effect
for sure.
that would be detrimental to European migration policy and European cohesion in general. So there is indeed a fear that some migrants, namely those that would be normally that other EU countries would be legally responsible for processing, that those will be turned away at the border.
Germany has announced that it will introduce checks at all of its borders for 6 months from Monday so that it can return people trying to enter the country illegally. It comes after two recent terror attacks carried out by asylum seekers in Munich and Solingen. I'm joined now by Nick Alipour, who reports for The Times from Germany. Hello, Nick.
Hello, hi.
Why is Germany doing this? This is a big deal for Germany to close its borders. I've crossed many German borders in my time, and it's normally easy as pie.
That's accurate. And it would be fair to say that this was a bit of a big bang when it happened yesterday. I think it took quite a few people by surprise, as for months, Germany had barred itself against closing its borders. And, as you know, in the EU, there is sort of a zone where borders are not supposed to be closed. So this was quite a surprise. And the question is indeed, why did it happen? And I do think today many have been occupied with dissecting that. I think the easy answer is indeed the one you've given. We've had two terror attacks that were major in the last few months, knife attacks. And ever since the rhetoric really on the far right has spread into the center, and people have wanted to get tough on migration in the government, not to forget there's a federal election coming up next year. So this was really not a great time for this to happen, and the government needed to act as soon as possible to avoid any PR disasters.
Indeed, yeah. I guess it's probably quite hard for British audiences sometimes to get their head around, but just how open borders are. I've crossed borders by mistake in Germany when they happen to be in the middle of what feels like a single town quite often. How have neighbouring countries reacted to this? Is there fury and surprise?
Well, to be fair, I think there is at the moment a bit of a stunned shock. We haven't heard much from neighboring countries yet, a lot more from inside the country itself, where people are indeed somewhat, if you will, numb. Because we've seen so many, so much more like tougher border policies, migration policies over the last few months, that this did not really come as an unprepared shock. The spillovers are slowly kind of starting to reach abroad, where people are now trying to find out what is it exactly that Germany is trying to do. We've had a snap reaction yesterday from the Austrian Interior Minister, who said, if Germany starts rejecting migrants at the border, which it is planning to do reportedly, we will not take them back. So there could be a domino effect, which sees Austria also not really letting migrants in at its border to Italy, meaning migrants might now sort of become stuck, get stuck in Italy itself. So you see there's spillover effects that are looming, which I think Germany's neighbors are still trying to find out how grave they will be. And we will probably see reactions come in soon.
And look, with Germany closing its borders like this, just to sort of properly understand it, does this mean that there will be people who are not getting through them because they do not have the correct paperwork?
Indeed, so that's what I said. It is sort of a separate topic in itself, because just because there are checks, it does not mean that people cannot pass through the borders. But Germany also, on top of that, wants to start rejecting migrants at the border, something that has tried to avoid for years under Angela Merkel, because it could lead to such a sort, as I said, a domino
Yeah,
effect
for sure.
that would be detrimental to European migration policy and European cohesion in general. So there is indeed a fear that some migrants, namely those that would be normally that other EU countries would be legally responsible for processing, that those will be turned away at the border, and the effects of that are really yet unclear.
Thank you very much indeed, Nick Alipour, who reports for The Times from Germany. Pleasure to speak to you, Nick. Now let's take a look at some of the other stories making the news this lunchtime.
Times Radio.
Germany's government says it is implementing temporary controls at all of the country's land borders in an attempt to tackle irregular migration and protect the public. The controls are set to begin on September 16th and last for 6 months. Nancy Faeser is the country's interior minister.
Dies habe ich heute angeordnet und
I have ordered this today and have already informed the EU. This will serve to further limit irregular migration and protect against the acute dangers posed by Islamist terror and serious crime. We are doing everything we can to better protect the people in our country against this.
die Menschen in unserem Land dagegen besser zu schützen.
This includes the far-reaching measures I am taking now.
Germany has hardened its stance on migration in recent years, and the government is scrambling to retake the initiative after support for the far-right Alternative for Germany, or AfD, has surged over the issue. Recent deadly knife attacks where the suspects were asylum seekers have stoked concerns over immigration. The Islamic State group claimed responsibility for a knife attack that killed 3 people in August. The announcement comes after the AfD became the first far-right party since World War II to win a state election earlier this month. And 2 weeks ahead of an election in Brandenburg, where Chancellor Olaf Scholz and Faeser's center-left Social Democrats are fighting to retain control of the government. Germany shares its more than 2,300-mile land border with Denmark, the Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg, France, Switzerland, Austria, the Czech Republic, and Poland.